Hi guys, Justin here. Every year I evaluate the gear that I'm using and evaluate how it's fitting into my systems for hiking and backpacking. And today I'm going to talk about what gear is not making the cut for 2020. So that's not to say that this gear is bad. It just isn't fitting in with my other gear or the conditions that I'm hiking in or the systems that I've established and changed over the course of the last year or two. Let's hop right into it with the first item, and that's my Thermarest Vesper Quilt. And I got the -6 version, which is the advertised temperature. It's actually a 0-degree comfort rating, and that's part of the reason why it's not working out for me. It's a really high quality quilt, has great features, but is a little bit too cold. I camp below freezing quite often. I thought maybe I could get by with this quilt by layering up quite a bit more, but I still got cold once we got down to -5, -6 degrees, which is very common in shoulder season and even some summer days for hiking in the Canadian Rockies. I definitely would have kept the quilt if I hiked more around freezing or just above, because it is a great quilt. I will be getting another quilt, and it's going to be a little bit warmer than the Thermarest Vesper. I'm going to be releasing a video where I'm giving a sneak peek of all the gear I'm going to be using in 2020, and my new quilt's going to be part of that video. So subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell to get notified when that video gets released. The next thing is tent footprints. I don't know why, but I babied my tents in 2019, and that's going to be not happening anymore in 2020. I'm not bringing footprints anymore. All the tents that I have are fairly durable, and even if they're not, I can set up a tent fairly well and clean up an area in order to not get any punctures in it, knock on wood. But I'm not bringing footprints anymore, just added weight and something that I don't need. This next item is going to be a little controversial, and that's Darn Tough socks. I've been using Darn Tough socks for years. I use them for my work socks, and they're great socks, super popular, and they're very durable, which is awesome. But the problem I have with them is that merino wool just holds on to a ton of moisture and sweat, and that makes for an uncomfortable day when it's longer days or you're fording creeks. When they're wet, they also stretch out a bit and make for a little bit of an uncomfortable hike relative to some other options out there. That other option is the Descent sock that I have right here. But this sock is also making it onto the list of gear that I'm not using in 2020. It's a compression sock that's a full nylon blend with spandex, and was awesome. I used these for 30 days and my foot was never more comfortable. The compression helped with foot fatigue and prevented any blisters, even on super long days. But the problem was that these socks did not hold up for me in the long run. After the 30+ days, they started getting a tear in the back here, and that's just super unfortunate because they were super comfortable and super awesome socks. I use Descent socks for backcountry skiing as well, and they provide a lot of the same benefits, but they've held up for hundreds of days so far without any rips. So I'm pretty disappointed that Descent socks failed me, and I contacted them and did not get any response about getting a replacement or whether that was just a defect that was isolated to just this one pair of socks. So because they didn't get back to me, I don't have any answers. I'm going to be moving on and trying to find another very similar compression sock that has a nylon blend in order to wear in 2020. The other thing that I'm not using anymore in 2020 is a spork. And sporks are cool. I love sporks. I love the idea of sporks, but a lot of the meals that I eat on the trail are kind of soupy, and I'm just not getting the full benefit of a spork by having those little ridges out there. Instead, I'm going to be using a spoon. Spoons will just get me where I need to go and give me a little bit more scooping power when on the trail. The spork also has little stabbies, which is great if you're eating something that requires little stabby forks, but has punctured a couple bags for me, and that's not cool either. So bye spork, hello spoon. The next item is also probably going to be a little bit controversial, and that's my footwear. I've been using Ultras for the last few years. Here I have the Lone Peak 3.5s and the King MTs, and they've been great shoes. The King MTs especially are really good on technical terrain. They're just lacking a little bit of cushioning that I'd like to have for really long days. They have great tread, great stiffness, but their cushioning just isn't quite there for what I need on the longer days. The Lone Peaks are a solid shoe if you're just cruising around on cruisy trails, but most of the trails I hike are more technical, and they're just a little bit too flexy for me. Right now they're a little bit cold, so they're not flexing a ton, but I found this shoe to have very little stability, and the cushioning that they did have packed out really quickly. I haven't put a ton of miles on these. You can see the tread's still pretty good, but they're almost done as far as a shoe goes for longer miles. I do have a couple of things that I'm looking at for 2020 for footwear, so stay tuned for that sneak peek video and I'll tell you what those options are. So that's the gear that I'm kicking to the curb in 2020. Keep an eye out for my sneak peek video. Otherwise, thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.